You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. From rarely programmed pieces to celebrated masterworks, the Agassiz Festival's 2022 theme is Where Worlds Converge. The featured guest performers this year are no strangers to genre and century hopping. The Penderecki String Quartet are one of the nation's most celebrated ensembles, tackling a dizzying array of composers over their 3-decade or so career performing together. From the ensemble, I'm joined by PSQ violinists Jeremy Bell and Jerzy Kapłanek. Welcome back to Classic 107 to you both.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure to be here.
Well, we last had you in the studio back in 2019. You were in town to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Agassiz. It was your festival debut. What do you remember about that Agassiz experience, Jeremy?
Oh gosh, well, it's so much fun because you get this momentum going, and you're out on stage almost every day, and playing different repertoire and just like collaborating with that particular festival, the 20th anniversary. We collaborated with people we'd never played with before, and some old friends. So it just creates this really wonderful dynamic. It's just a blast.
Yeah, you mentioned just how much you were performing. I think it was 5 of the 7 nights. They don't take it any easier on you this time around, do they, Jeremy?
No, not quite. Yeah, but it's, as I said, like once you get into that sort of, you ride that wave, and then you just get more and more comfortable on stage and just having more and more fun.
So we're lucky to have you back, and we're lucky to experience your outstanding musicianship again. And before we chat a little bit about a few of the nights and the music that you'll be making, usually I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about the PSQ. You've been performing together for about 3 decades or so. You've been there for most of them. You started out as a student group of musicians who just wanted to make music together, and I guess you just haven't stopped. To what do you attribute the longevity of the Penderecki String Quartet?
Well, I think, first of all, it would be the love for music, because without that, it's just too hard. And so we dedicated to this repertoire for a reason. This is the best way, in our opinion, in my opinion, to make music, to leave the music with the others, and have that intimate relationship with the music through the relationship with the members in the quartet. So that's for sure a huge aspect, and also the fact that we've been able to be together at the Whitfield University in Waterloo. That the residency helps us to just be able to focus on the music and on the career, and that's for sure gives us that extra comfort to be able. We don't need to run after other gigs, or even 200 or 420 concerts a year if we choose not to, because we do have a base where we can work, and we of course teach all the string instruments there, and teach chamber music, and so we engage our students with what we do directly.
I'm thinking about that, and the fact that you are quartet in residence at University of Waterloo, as you mentioned, and it's interesting because you started as a student group, and you continue to surround yourself with that student energy, because, well, I mean, you're still at university, right? I mean, that's got to aid in what you do and continuing that longevity, right?
That's for sure, and it feels like we don't age, because the students are always the same age, and we are, but of course we are not. So here we are 30 years later, approaching certain maturity in our age, but the students we're working with, they stay always young, and so you're right, absolutely.
Yeah, age is just a number, they say. Last week, I had the opportunity to chat with Festival Artistic Director Paul Marlane, who noted PSQ's seriousness of study, like the level of preparation that you bring to your performances, but he also talked about the adventurous spirit you all possess. Together, PSQ has definitely tackled masterworks, but you've also been devoted champions of music of our time. Jeremy, can you tell us a little bit more about where that sort of exploratory drive, that adventurousness comes from?
Well, I think we all just I think we just innately want to embrace the just the range of what's possible for the string quartet. And we're very excited by that. We're very excited to know, like personally know composers that are writing specifically for us. I mean, that's amazing to have that opportunity and to actually be part of a process and talk about, you know, especially if you get to workshop something with a composer and get to really understand what is behind the music in a very personal way. Because we can only imagine that on some levels with, you know, the Beethoven and Brahms and this. We have a pretty good idea, but to know this on a personal level with a living person is pretty cool. But yeah, no, I think it's just also being fascinated and just wanting to study, just wanting to just the love of learning new stuff. Like I was thinking about your comment about the students being surrounded by students, and it's like we see the students graduate, but we never get to graduate, you know? And I feel a little bit that way with the quartet, just that we're always studying and it's rich. So.
Well, speaking of study, you've certainly spent some time in the books preparing for this festival. As I mentioned, you're performing 5 of the 7 nights once again, including the opening night Made in America program, which took place on Sunday. Can we talk a little bit more about today's concert, which sort of encapsulates that adventurous spirit? Because this is a really cool program. It's one that I was thrilled to see, and it's one that pairs a masterwork by Franz Schubert, Death in the Maiden Quartet, a cornerstone in the repertoire, with a bold new take on it by a great Canadian composer, Dinuk Wijeratne, who we had in studio a little while back, and it was one of my favorite conversations I've ever had. His outlook on music and his articulate ability is just, it is something else. Who wants to chat a little bit about this fascinating pairing? Because this is just a really cool program.
Well, I can take a little stab at it. I wish Dinuk was here, but of course, you might know that he is very, he was born in Sri Lanka. He lived in London, England. He lived in New York City, studied at the Juilliard School. Then he moved to Toronto and studied with Christos Hatzi's and is now living in Ottawa, where he's a professor of composition. So he's had this incredible background. And he's also someone who dabbles in many worlds of music, pop and so forth, and obviously classical. So he's kind of taken the pop element, if you will, of the Schubert and kind of in a backward sort of way. So like you get the Schubert very much towards the end, and then he kind of yanks at it, threads it away, and brings it to this very sort of pop-like beginning with this driving sort of ostinato. So then it sort of filters through, and then finally it ends up in the Schubert towards the end. It's very, very effective, and yeah, it works really well together.
And I have to add, I would like to add to it that the writing, it's really brilliant. It's so suitable for string instruments, and the sonority of the way Dinuk is capturing the sonority of the string quartet. It's quite amazing, and no surprise that he actually has been writing, or probably has already written the composition for the Banff International String Competition this year, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm really looking forward to hearing that piece.
Yeah, we've been lucky and treated to a Dinuk premiere here in Winnipeg. The Manitoba Chamber Orchestra commissioned a work of his, a work that he played at the keyboard, which was just, it was stunning. It was a sort of piano fantasy and variations called Gajikavanama. And one last thing I wanted to ask you about this is it's sort of like a 3-part work. I mean, there is the original Death in the Maiden Quartet. There is the variations, a letter from the afterlife from 2 pop songs on antique poems. And then there's a 3rd part in which it was remixed by DJ Scratch Bastard. I'm curious, have you ever done that last part in performance? Because I see on your website you've collaborated with a DJ before. Was it for that or for something else?
It wasn't for that particular piece, but I've heard the off Yara play that movement. It's pretty awesome. And we've worked with DJ Spooky, one of the big New York DJs, and we've also worked with DJ P Love. But yeah, it's always fun to go, and especially DJ Spooky. He came up with all kinds of really wild ideas for us.
Well, and I think that, again, we're just talking about the breadth of music that PSQ explores, and another performance on Thursday coming up in a couple days, which is titled PSQ Behind the Stage Lights, in which you'll be kind of running the gamut. There's Haydn, there's Mozartich, there's Brahms, and then to your namesake, Christoph Penderecki. Can you tell us a little bit more about that performance, Jiří?
Yes, absolutely. Excuse me. This is the fourth string quartet of Maestro Penderecki, and written just a few years before his death in 2020. He passed away, but this was written in 2016. And because of his sickness and other circumstances, this music wasn't actually available for a while. So we've been only playing this quartet this year, and it's an incredible work. It's rather short. It's only lasts for about 6-7 minutes, but it starts with this monumental viola solo, viola being one of the most loved instrument by Maestro Penderecki. And it's very, very lyrical, and this opening is followed up by a rather quick motion part that ends with melodies from childhood of Maestro Penderecki when he was of that quartet. It's really very effective, and it brings this kind of a connection to almost a folk music, and something that we've heard a little bit in the third quartet as well. So we've been really enjoying performing this work,
and we're looking forward to hearing it here in Winnipeg. Things wrap up on Saturday. Very festive finale. I mean, Jeremy, you were kind of speaking to this at the very beginning of this conversation, the idea of just coming together and making music together. And well, we all know what the past couple of years have been like, and keeping music separate or online or doing a lot of solo stuff that way. It's got to feel good to just come together with a whole bunch of players to wrap things up on Saturday. Just a celebratory element, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's only been well, it's been a very unusual year, right? We had a few little breaks where we got to play in live, and then we were shut down again, and then we're sort of feeling like this is the longest stretch we've had without interruption, and that's been basically since April or so. We've started really have audiences. So yeah, we feel like we've been reborn in a way, right? It's just and getting used to kind of really playing for people, playing in front of people again. It's there's no words to kind of describe that feeling, just the difference, because we did 2 years of Zoom and online this and live stream that, but the other day we had a really big ovation for a concert, and man, did it ever feel good. It just felt amazing.
Yeah, there is that shared energy in a room, in a space when music's being created, and that's exactly what's going to happen at the Agassiz Festival, and will continue to happen at the Agassiz Festival this week. To close out this interview, Jeremy, Jiří, I've got a little audio snippet queued up. This is from a 1999 recording titled "Learning to Fall," and it features music of Glenn Buhr, who is no stranger to Winnipeg and no stranger to you all, as he's based in Kitchener-Waterloo at Wilfrid Laurier. I think the last time you were here at Agassiz, Glenn Buhr was along for the ride too. You recorded some music together. Do you sort of come as a package duo now? Because he and the Broken Consort Band will also be performing as well, right?
Right. Well, Glenn, as you mentioned, Glenn and the Penderecki Quartet, we've been colleagues on a professional level and colleagues at the Wilfrid Laurier University, where Glenn was teaching composition, and of course then we have a friendship with Margaret Sweetman and Glenn. So Over the years, we've commissioned Glenn to write many string quartets, and this week, I think we're really looking forward to explore his new ideas. This was started, as you mentioned, during the last visit, but I think this new program that he created, it looks really interesting. We haven't been able to rehearse yet, and we're looking forward to the rehearsal today. But you know, it's going to be something very exciting for us, and it's good to be seeing them both. Glenn retired from our school 2 years ago or so we haven't been seeing him as much. So we're looking forward to the artistic and friendship part of it.
And we are going to hear just a little bit of that from back in 1999. This is the first string quartet of Glenn Buhr. Jiří and Jeremy, thanks so much for chatting with me at Classic 107 today.
Our pleasure. Thanks, Sam.